To understand the legend of HIMARS, we must first understand the desperate situation that created its myth. By late spring of 2022, the initial, chaotic phase of the invasion had ended. The battle for Kiev was won, but in the east, in the vast industrial plains of the Donbass, a different kind of war was unfolding. A brutal, First World War-style war of attrition. The Russian army, learning from its early failures, reverted to its oldest and most brutal doctrine, the overwhelming use of artillery. They established a creeping barrage, firing thousands upon thousands of shells every single day. Ukrainian positions were systematically pounded into dust. The ratio was staggering. For every one shell Ukrainian forces could fire back, Russians could fire 10, sometimes 20. This wasn't just firepower, it was a mechanical attempt to grind down an army through sheer volume of steel and explosives. Ukrainian soldiers, brave and determined as they were forced to cede ground. Cities like Severodonetsk and Lysychansk became symbols of a heroic but painful defense. The situation was critical. Ukraine needed to break this cycle. They needed to shatter the Russian army's ability to wage this kind of war. They needed a weapon that could reach out and touch the enemy's nervous system, its command nodes, its supply lines, its logistics, far behind the front lines. The stage was set for a hero, not in the form of a soldier, but a machine. All right, let's talk about the HIMARS. That stands for High Mobility Artillery Rocket System. Now, let's be clear, this isn't some brand new superweapon. In fact, the US Army has been using it for decades. Its genius isn't about being new, it's about how perfectly it combines three timeless military ideas: precision, range, and mobility. So, let's break it down. At its heart, it's basically a truck, an M142 vehicle, built on a standard 5-ton military truck frame. On the back, it carries a launcher pod with 6 rockets, or it can fire one larger attack missile. But here's the key: these aren't the old, dumb, unguided rockets from the past. Each one is a GPS-guided GMLRS rocket, a real marvel of modern engineering. From over 80 kilometers away, way outside the range of most enemy artillery, it can drop a 200-pound warhead right on target, literally through a specific doorway. Its precision, what the experts call its circular error probable, is a mind-blowing 5 to 10 meters. Think of it as a sniper rifle, not a shotgun. But the real magic is in its tactic. It's called shoot and scoot. A HIMARS crew can get coordinates, drive into position, fire off all 6 rockets in less than a minute, pack up, and be moving again before the first rocket even hits its target. By the time Russian counter-battery radar can figure out where the launch came from, the HIMARS is already miles away, vanished into the countryside. That mobility is its best defense. It doesn't need heavy armor because it's never supposed to be seen or engaged. It's a ghost on the battlefield, a phantom that delivers thunder and then disappears without a trace. This simple concept completely revolutionized artillery warfare in Ukraine. The first HIMARS systems arrived in Ukraine in June 2022. Their impact was not immediate on the front lines, but cataclysmic in the Russian rear. Ukraine employed them with brilliant strategic acumen. They didn't waste them on individual tanks or frontline positions. Instead, they went after the pillars holding up the entire Russian war effort: ammunition depots, command and control centers, and troop concentration points. The videos began to flood the internet. Not of frontline combat, but of massive, secondary explosions deep inside occupied territory. A single HIMARS strike on an ammunition depot would trigger a fireworks display of detonating shells that could last for hours, lighting up the night sky. The psychological effect was as devastating as the physical one. For Russian soldiers, nowhere was safe anymore. The deep rear, once a place of relative security, was now a potential death trap. The math of the war began to change. Russia was forced to move its supply depots back, sometimes over 100 kilometers. This stretched their logistics to the breaking point. The constant flow of shells to the front slowed to a trickle, disrupting the rhythm of their artillery barrages. The god of war was being choked. Commanders became afraid to gather in large groups. The very architecture of Russian military command had to adapt to this new, unseen threat. In a matter of weeks, HIMARS had done what months of brutal fighting could not. It had fundamentally degraded the enemy's ability to fight effectively. The strategic masterpiece of the HIMARS campaign was the battle for Kherson. Tens of thousands of elite Russian troops were stationed on the west bank of the wide Dnipro River. Their lifelines were three crucial bridges: the Antonivsky Road Bridge, the Antonivsky Railway Bridge, and the dam of the Novokakhovka hydroelectric power plant. A direct assault would have been bloody and likely failed. Instead, Ukrainian generals, empowered by HIMARS, devised a modern-day siege. They didn't need to destroy the bridges completely, a difficult task requiring massive payloads. Instead, they used HIMARS' surgical precision to make them militarily unusable. Week after week, they targeted the roadways, the support structures, and the approach roads. They punched precise holes, making it impossible for heavy trucks carrying ammunition, fuel, and reinforcements to cross. The Russian grouping on the west bank was slowly bled dry. Tanks became static pillboxes without fuel. Soldiers ran low on food and, crucially, artillery shells. They were isolated, vulnerable, and trapped. HIMARS had created a cage without bars. This strategic isolation, this slow suffocation of an entire army group, is what made the eventual Russian withdrawal not just a retreat, but a humiliating necessity. The liberation of Kherson was one of Ukraine's greatest victories, and it was achieved not with a blunt instrument, but with the scalpel-like precision of HIMARS. So, can a single weapon system truly win a war? The story of HIMARS provides a nuanced answer. It is the quintessential force multiplier, a tool that dramatically increases the combat effectiveness of the forces using it. But it is not a magic wand. Its effectiveness is entirely dependent on a complex ecosystem of support. It is useless without accurate, real-time intelligence from partisans, drones, and satellite imagery provided by Western allies. It requires constant maintenance and a steady supply of expensive rockets, a logistical chain stretching across the Atlantic. Most importantly, it requires the skill, courage, and cunning of the Ukrainian soldiers who operate it, plan its missions, and interpret the intelligence. As the war evolved, so did Russian tactics. They began to adapt, dispersing their ammunition in smaller caches, using decoys, and improving their electronic warfare capabilities. The low-hanging fruit was gone. HIMARS could not single-handedly stop the millions of landmines laid in the path of the Ukrainian counteroffensive or clear the deeply entrenched Russian defensive lines known as the Surovikin Line. It is a tool for shaping the battlefield, for creating opportunities. But it still requires infantry and armor to step into the breach it creates. It is a legendary weapon, but it does not fight alone. It is a part of a complex orchestra of modern combined arms warfare. The legacy of HIMARS in Ukraine transcends its physical destruction. It has become a powerful symbol, a testament to Western support, Ukrainian ingenuity, and a new way of war. It has demystified advanced technology, showing that in the right hands, it can be a decisive equalizer against a numerically superior foe. For military strategists around the world, the lesson is clear: the future of warfare is not in the massed, Soviet-style artillery formations of the past. It is in precision, mobility, and information dominance. It is about seeing the enemy, understanding their weaknesses, and striking them with overwhelming effect at a time and place of your choosing, all while minimizing risk to your own forces. HIMARS didn't win the war in Ukraine alone. But it changed its course irrevocably. It broke a siege mentality, it liberated a key city, and it gave a nation a legendary tool in its fight for survival. It proved that while a single weapon might not win a war outright, it can certainly become the stuff of legend, forever altering the calculus of conflict and cementing its place in the history of modern warfare.